I put a spell on you. Because you're mine. Stop the things you do. What's up? I ain't lying. Yeah, I can't stand. Woo! No running around. I can't stand. No putting me down. I put a spell on you. Because you're mine. Oh, yeah. Stop the things you do. What's up? I ain't lying. Oh, oh, I love you. I love you. I love you anyhow. I don't care if you don't want me. I'm yours right now. I'll put a spell on you. Because you're mine.
45 Grave on Widdershins Radio. Radio for your spiritual side. A twisted approach to the left-hand path, sometimes a gossip show for the pagan communities. Definitely going to be that kind of thing tonight. When Widdershins, well, hold on. I got to let the clown to the right of me say Widdershins.
Widdershins!
That's clown to the right of me, Marta. I'm Michael, also known as Uncle Birch. And what's I going to say? I don't know. We expose fuckery on this show quite often. We talk about pagan gossip, witch wars, this kind of stuff. It's never because we want that to go on. It's to expose the fuckery. So in hopes that the people involved in the various fuckeries will someday see or hear the error of their ways and not do fuckery. I mean, it's not rocket surgery, people. We expose this shit, the ridiculous shit in our communities. Now, those of you, people are saying hi to you, Marta, in the chat room. We have our own world, our own communities, our own magical communities. We live amongst you, but have our own worlds. And in our worlds, we have our own controversies and fuckeries and things. And if you aren't of those worlds, if you're not a witch, a warlock, a magician, a mage, a shaman, a root worker, a conjure doctor, I'm running out of fucking terminology here. But if you're not one of us, I don't know how you ended up here, but I hope you derive something interesting from the show. And don't think that the things we expose on Widdershins are a depiction of the entirety of our communities. It's shit that goes on amongst ourselves, and we have to expose it amongst ourselves. Now, I wanted to jump in here earlier than usual. I usually play more songs, but we just might have, a very special guest calling in, and when that special guest calls in, he tends to take over the show. We let him because it's fucking great radio. But prior to that, since I am old, I must remind people, in the late ages, the dark ages, 1974, Marta was a mere, crawling on the floor. Fucking, you were crawling on the floor behind the Iron Curtain in 1974. In 1974, there was a thing called the American Council of Witches. And
told everybody my age. Thanks a lot.
Sorry. In 1974, there was this thing called the American Council of Witches, and they met Minnesota, I believe it was. And yeah, I'm right. It was Minnesota. The Minnesota Council of Witches, or the Minnesota Witch Meet, I think the event was called. And people from all around the country, witches, prominent witches, people involved, leaders and whatnot, met to decide some policy for us all to follow in later generations. And they came up with the Principles of Wiccan Belief, and I believe it was a 13-part thing. And I'm going to leave you to go look that up, because you'd probably never heard about it till Uncle Birch said it. But the Minneapolis Witch Meet of the American Council of Witches, 1974, was the last time that any organized body tried to organize and decide policy for the entirety of the witchcraft community, because the witchcraft community at the time was neo-pagan, and Wicca was slowly becoming the dominant force. But it was largely, 1974 in America was largely dominated by the neo-pagan movement. And I imagine, Oberon Zell was probably there in one of his other incarnations. It was Otter Zell. He was probably at the witch meet, but there was the first time and the last time that any non-appointed body gathered to attempt to decide policy for the entirety of the witchcraft communities, the magical communities. And several attempts have happened since then, and a couple of them have actually tried to call themselves the American Council of Witches. Now, y'all may think it's kind of funny sometimes when Uncle Birch tells you he's an anarchist, but here y'all are in this witchcraft thing where generally it's run by anarchists. Nobody has ever supported a governing body within witchcraft to police us all, and every attempt to do so has been fraught with controversy and chaos, and every time somebody tries to do that, it turns to shit. And now this latest one, I don't even know. Let me see if I gotta look it up again. I don't even remember what the fuck it was called, but the Neo-Pagan Occult New Age Abuse Council.
Basically, it's a support group for people who feel, marginalized or victimized, or they want to leave some group that they're a part of and are scared to, or that's kind of the gist of it. And while I respect the intent, I think it's gonna backfire and cause a whole lot of strife, because if people are outing other people, inevitably there's going to be somebody in the group that knows and likes the person being outed, and it's just going to go back and forth. I've already seen comments.
Well, right away, it calls itself an abuse and fraud support group, and while I'm not in the group, I was able to get on the person's page where she posted about the group, and the people responding to the group, it was all about Christian Day, and people repeating rumors that they'd heard about it. And it's like, oh, I've only heard bad things about him, bada 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 bada.
Stuff that's like neither here nor there. Like they were talking about the fact that he wears eyeliner, like that has anything whatsoever to do with anything. And then, and just to be fair, the person who started the group, she did name him too, but she didn't go there. Like, she didn't insult him or anything like that. It was like all these other people on her page that were just going back and forth, and posting pictures of him, and just totally. It was all unnecessary, but just total unnecessary shit that doesn't have anything to do with anything. And other things were just, based on rumors that they had heard. Oh, my favorite is how they compared him to Trump.
Well, yeah, that was because he comes up with colorful names for people. But yeah, so I while I'm not on the group's page, I was able to see the people responding to the things about the group's page, and they were just a bunch of people talking shit about some controversial figure they heard about in the witchcraft community, and most of the people had no personal interactions at all.
The cover of Brian's book, they went there too.
So then they jump into this thing about, talking shit about their eyeliner, and it's like, okay, so this is going to be our support group for the entire pagan community, a bunch of people that just talk shit that they've heard about somebody out there, or they've seen a picture. Few people actually read anything or learn anything. We've come to know Christian Day better than most people, and people on Wittershins too. It's like he calls in, we let him talk about just about anything, and I followed him for quite some time before I got to know him. And the one thing, me and Marta always say we have never seen Christian Day draw first blood. We've seen him finish things, and I've always said, and I'll say it in fucking front of God and everything. But one of the things I love about Christian Day is his finesse and finality with which he ends a conflict. When he ends a war, it's fucking over, and you're fucking done, and it's almost poetry the way I've seen some of these conflicts, and hey, I like that.
And I don't even know. I have a couple theories, but I don't even know how this particular thing even started. All of a sudden I saw Christian posting some stuff about it on his wall, and I went over to her page and I saw something, the thing about the eyeliner and all that. But I'm not really sure exactly what even happened. I didn't think they really interacted with each other or anything like that. But maybe you know more than I do.
I don't know. She I don't know. She had some personal beef with him, some personal gripe with him, like all of the people that the people that weren't just repeating what they heard, all had a personal gripe, and this was the people responding to the thing about the support groups. I can't imagine. From what I've heard, well, one of the things that came from within the support group was that Christian Day is a... hold on. Wait for it. Drum roll. Christian Day is a womanizer. I'm going to let that hang for a second. That's not dead air. A womanizer. Now, he does often talk to me about how hot my wife is, but most gay guys do. Most gay guys always notice how hot she is and the style and the designer things that she has on. Yeah, it's like, if I'm fucking wearing my Prada shoes, the gay guys notice and the rest of them don't. And that's a stereotype. It's broad, but it tends to apply in most situations where I just tried to apply it than not. So, there's that, but womanizer. So, problem is, when people do this kind of thing, you have to consider your source, and when your source can't pass the straight face test, in that you can't say what they just said with a straight face. Like, I can't say Christian Day's a womanizer with a straight face. The fact that, they tried to say that with a straight face is, admirable, I guess. I don't know.
I like his eyeliner, so maybe there's some truth to that.
Yeah. You've always talked about guy liner and stuff. But so, that's the first thing. So we got this thing going on. And I think at some point, we might get a call. Let's see. But so I started reading this stuff. I think yesterday it was all breaking, and then I went there and I went to Sarah Ann Lawless's page, and she's the one that started this abuse support network, quote unquote, where all I saw was them abusing people. Well, mostly Christian Day, but they were all abusing a member of our community, and most of the people were admitting that they had nothing to go on. It was just something that they heard, but they were going to go there anyways. Now, right away, there's a problem with our fucking community. The fact that we just go there and talk shit about somebody we don't fucking know, based on something we've heard. Part of my whole problem with the way witchcraft is going in this day and age is a bunch of fucking new witches repeating a bunch of shit they heard that they don't know to be true. Whether it's Christian Day or the deeper secrets of magic, people repeating shit like, all that matters is your intent, and do whatever you feel. Crap like that. People repeating crap like that, causing damage to the entirety of the magical spectrum. That. And then those same people do shit like this. Oh, I heard some bad things about Christian Day, so now I'm going to talk about your shit. Yeah.
And, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of the pagan community. When we were in Santa Cruz, I was a solitary for, a long time. And then when I met Mike, I wasn't a solitary anymore. And these people in Santa Cruz just put me through the ringer. And I never did anything to a single one of them. So I know firsthand how easy it is to spread that shit, and then somebody hears something, and so when you hear it from enough people, you assume like, okay, well, so and so thinks that, and so corroborated, and so and so, but if you ever actually went up to a single one of these people and said, okay, what specifically did she do to you? They don't have anything. And it was all started by your ex, honey.
And the thing that she did to them was she made it so Uncle Birch wouldn't fuck them. Fucking call a spade. Fucking tell it. The bottom line was I was polyamorous for 20 years, and everybody thought they had a shot. Because, I was pretty active. And I was a hoe. Okay, I was a hoe, which is H-O and not H-O-E, as I spelled it before. I was a pretty busy hoe. And Marta came along, and the change that most said... She turned me into an honest man. The change that most said couldn't happen, that I said couldn't happen. I was one of the fucking... I did radio shows reading from The Ethical Slut. I was a professor of polyamory, and I should be. I did 20 years of it. I understand it more than most people. But sometimes there could come a time, or come a person, come along, where you don't want to be that anymore. And that's supposed to be the thing about your sexual freedom. But when I chose to be monogamous with my sexual freedom, there was a great uproar in our local community amongst a bunch of women who wanted to fuck me.
And they all, and of course nobody's going to say that. They all try to act like they were just, like sticking up for your ex. Yeah, concerns, sticking up for your ex and, like helping her to feel better and stuff. But when you were with your ex, they had no problem going after her man.
Word. And, they would have, most of them would have loved it if I'd have ran off with them and become monogamous. But one of the things I learned in polyamory is that women are as full of shit as men are when they want to get laid. And they'll tell you anything you want to hear when they want a piece. They'll say, oh, I don't have a jealous bone in my body. Oh, polyamory, I'm totally cool with that. Oh, yeah, you can be with anybody you want. And then you fuck them. And a lot of them assume that means you've made some sort of commitment. I don't know. That's my research seemed to point to that more often than the case. A certain amount of fucking, like 2-3 times maybe for some of them, but a great amount of those that said they didn't have a jealous bone in their body and were okay with no commitment and all that changed after a certain amount of fucking.
And a certain dipshit whose name we won't name moved to Santa Cruz and opened a shop. And so she arrived, she didn't know shit. She heard all this stuff from all these people about me and Mike. So she was like, huh. That's a really easy target. I really don't have to try that hard to turn everybody against them and take their business away so I could get their business. And that's how that started. It all boils down, traces back to your ex, honey.
Yeah. What is it? Bimbarella?
I think that's what
I think it's been Barella. So we're hoping to get a caller in here pretty soon.
So
we'll see.
What we're saying is, it's dangerously easy to start these rumors, and then somebody hears it and says it, and somebody else hears it and says it, and then all of a sudden you have all these people saying it. So you think, oh, that must be credible. That really must have been what happened. And that's why I really think, like, I don't know this person who started this support group. I don't have any beef with her or anything like that, but I just think it's a bad idea. I think it gives people license to just make shit up because they know everybody's going to believe them. And the pagan group, the pagan community, unfortunately, is no better than anybody else. I learned that the hard way. I expected some sort of higher standard, but people are people. It just doesn't matter.
Well, I think it's been pointed out in prior conversations, like some people in our community are here more for the social part of it.
It's like fraternities and sororities. It's for the social. I've been saying this since high school. It's for the socially inept.
We are largely very accepting of most people. And so people end up in witchcraft and Wicca and these kind of things because they're not accepted anywhere else. And sometimes, that's not the best motivation for a religion or a spirituality. And it ends up biting us in the ass. But we're far too accepting of, we're accepting everybody's baggage and trauma and everything like that, and then people do this kind of thing here. They use their baggage and their trauma to slander somebody else. And we're, since that person is oft slandered by people, we're, more prone to believe that. Of course Christian Day did this thing. It's like, no, I've been following him for a long time, and I agree with the way he does things. He doesn't draw first blood, but he does finish things. And now, if you punch me in the nose, I might cut off your nose, and you might bitch at me later and say, "Well, that's you're over." Yeah, exactly.
He cut my nose off.
Yeah, you're going to say, "Oh, that's an overreaction. You reacted, too strongly to what I did." Like you, being the attacker, never get to decide what my reaction is. And you never get to call me on my reaction, my counterattack to your attack. It will be overwhelming. It will be larger than your initial attack. That is the art of war. That is how this game is played. And you don't get to whine about it later when I overrun your defenses and destroy your fucking garrison. That's the way this game is played. If you don't like the rules, don't play it. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's the fucking game. Don't play the fucking game if you're not willing to play the game. But if you get into this squabble with me, I'll fucking do you tenfold whatever you dealt me. If you didn't destroy me with the first fucking blow. Yes, asshole threefold. If you didn't destroy me with the first blow, I'm coming at you with tenfold. Actually, I'm probably coming to just destroy you utterly because I've learned the futility of fucking around with people and playing tit for tat for a while. Eventually.
Your dad told you, he's like, if you're going to get into a fight, make sure they can't get up.
Yeah. Did I tell that here? I'll tell that here.
Told it at Hexfest.
I told it at Hexfest. All right, well, I'll tell you here. Since we're waiting to see if we get a call, we'll go.
Waiting. We're having our show.
We're having our show, and we're talking about the shit. But we'll see. But Dad's still alive, but it sounds like I'm talking about him like he's dead sometimes because I don't see him very often. But there were some tidbits that he left me with, some particulars of wisdom. Probably propensity for studying the arts of war came from him. But he told me this story one time. One time he was wearing shorts, and I noticed this diamond-shaped scar on his upper thigh. And I said, "Hey, what's that?" And I said, he said, "Well, that's a lesson I learned, and that scar's always there to remind me of that lesson, and that's what scars are in this world, is that remind you of the lessons you learned." So that's the way my dad was. So I looked at him. I said, "Okay, you want to tell me about the lesson you learned?" He said, "Sure." So I was in a rumble in my teens, and I was fighting with the back end of a pool cue, half a pool cue, and I had just beaten this guy within an inch of his life, and he was on the ground, and I stood with my legs straddling him, raising my club to the sky in victory, praising myself. And he pulled a stiletto and stabbed me in the leg. And I waited. And he said, "The lesson that I learned, don't gloat. You can gloat later, after the battle's over. Never gloat on the battlefield." That was my dad. So I guess maybe he had some effect on me. I don't know. But yeah, so we see this. There's this victim support group that all I've seen from the victim support group is them victimizing somebody else. And they do that, they justify that by saying, oh, he attacked this person and he attacked that person and he attacked that person. I have not seen that in my entire time of knowing the man and watching his works. I've seen him get attacked and him respond. And then people whine about the ferocity of his response. And having felt that many times in my life, I got a feel for the man. The victim, the attack, the aggressor does
acting
not,
like the victim, and I have plenty of experience with that, and that's a particularly triggering thing for me too. I can't stand that.
If you started it, you don't get to dictate how I finish it.
Exactly.
And you won't like
respond to it.
How I respond. What? Yeah.
If you try to kill me, I'm going to kill you. And that's why the law won't prosecute me, because they get it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing.
If you try and kill me, I'll kill you in a very brutal fashion. It'll be very slow.
Well, you might get prosecuted.
I might get prosecuted for that.
I just saw something come over my news feed that I want to read to people.
Okay.
You already read me the story, but I just saw it come over my news feed from Punk Rock Homesteading. And it's an article from Newsweek. So y'all know it's legit, right?
Yeah.
So this headline: massive semen explosion after blaze hits bull artificial insemination facility. Firefighters forced to dodge projectiles. And that's a poorly written headline, but whatever. It's got semen in it, so, Yeah. Projectiles. Yeah. So, a huge fire at a cattle breeding facility in Australia has caused thousands of dollars in damage after at least 100 cylinders containing bull semen were destroyed. Emergency services were called to the blaze in the early hours of Yarram Herd Services in Gippsland, Victoria. According to ABC, it took 10 fire crews more than 2 hours to fully extinguish the fire after it broke out around 3 a.m. local time. Oh, God. Okay, hold on. A spokesman from the County Fire Authority told Daily Mail Australia that the fire had, quote, completely shredded the building. County Fire Authority Gippsland Commander Chris Loshenkole said the crew had to be wary of, quote, projectiles coming at them while they tackled the blaze. Quote, The liquid inside the cylinders was rapidly expanding, and essentially, the lids of the cryogenic cylinders were just popping off the top, and projectiles were being thrown from the building, he told ABC. Quote, so firefighters went into a defensive mode initially to protect themselves because there were also LPG cylinders at the neighboring property, and they did a magnificent job. Loshenko said that he has never had, quote, anything to do with the artificial insemination side of things before during his career. Yemen Herd Services Committee, Yemen Herd Services Committee Vice Chairman Aaron Thomas said the loss of 100 cryogenic cylinders of cattle semen will be a, quote, huge blow for the farmers. Get it?
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I see what Newsweek did there. The actual cylinders are worth between $500 and $1,000 per unit, but the semen inside them varies in price. Oh, so some semen is more expensive than other semen. Quote, we're coming into the AI. AI in this context means artificial insemination. We're coming into the AI season, so there would have been substantial amounts of semen inside the tanks that we've lost, which was owned by our local farmers, and it can range in value from $5 per straw to $95 per straw. What's straw? Like with the ejaculate? Anyway, Thomas said the farmers have also lost a lot of equipment as a result of the fire. Quote, so this is significant damage, and it is going to have a flow-on effect on Yarram, especially after the drought that Yarram district has experienced over the last 12 months. I guess they can't ejaculate during the drought. Earlier this year, ABC reported that farmers in Gippsland were losing as much as 70% of their regular income due to lack of rainfall and weeds, causing what is known as a green drought. Quote, a green drought is a drought through the wintertime where we have a green cover, but there's no actual growth coming from any desirable pasture species, explained Rodwell's sale agronomist Casey Willis. A lot of what's being grown in paddocks at the moment is weeds, and they have little to no nutritional value for stock. Yarram Herd Services has been providing artificial insemination as well as other services such as calf dehorning and freeze branding services for farmers in Gippsland for the past 20 years. An investigation to determine the cause of the fire is underway. Okay, so when they have, and this is kind of what I suspected, when they have a drought, it affects the vegetation, which affects the bulls because they need to eat the vegetation. So if they're not eating the vegetation, I guess they can't, make enough juice.
Can't make enough juice. Well, thanks for bringing us that story, honey.
They can't squeeze the juice.
I saved that on my phone, but it was better having you read it. I don't know why. So, before we cut to some music here, I was going to say on the Sarah Ann Lawless thing and the Abuse Network group and all that, it's like I saw a bunch of people repeating what they heard. And they went on and on. It's like, and then several of them admitted.
Somebody even said, I have no idea who he is, but I Googled him, and he sounds like a whiner train wreck or something. But so people were admitting that they don't even know who he is, and they're just repeating what they saw on Google.
Exactly where I was going to go. So I heard these things about Sarah Ann Lawless today from somebody that started inboxing me. And what I heard was that she claimed to be an initiate of the fairy tradition, F-E-R-I. And that she claimed to have been initiated directly from Victor and Cora Anderson into one of their more close-knit lines. And, rather than just repeating what I heard, I went and, I asked that person.
Well,
and
I asked, I said, do we know that she hasn't been initiated? And I always do that, if I hear some rumor, I'm like, well, So how do you know that blah 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 blah? And I went there. I said, do we know that she wasn't initiated?
So I asked the person, I said, do you have this? Apparently it happened on a podcast where she claimed to be this fairy initiate from the direct line of Victor and Cora Anderson, which is a fucking ballsy-ass claim to make. And he not only provided me with the podcast, but the time index when she said that. And when we were out at Taco Tuesday today, I listened to it, and absolutely she said that. She said that she was a fairy initiate directly under Cora and Victor Anderson of the Vizia. Yeah, it was an Italian word, which would have meant more Cora Anderson's line than Victor's line, because, but she probably wouldn't even know that because I know more about fairy than she does. But then, so then I asked, I said, okay, so how do you know this isn't true? And he provided me with a screenshot of his interaction with the person in the fairy tradition who keeps track of the lineage, who disavowed her claim and double-checked with one of the originators of the Vizia, I think it was Vizia, the Vizia line of fairy, and he confirmed that she was not fairy initiate. So see, now I heard some stuff too. Like you all heard about Christian and you just went and repeated it. And I did me some fucking research before I repeated it. But still, I'm just saying that that's something that I heard. But I followed up on it. And now when I say it, I've got a little bit more to fucking back it up than you. I have the person in charge of tracking the lineage within the fairy tradition and a screenshot from her text saying that Sarah Ann Lawless was not initiated into the fairy tradition, and it was confirmed by one of the originators of that particular line of fairy, which if you understand fairy at all, you would have to do. You would have to consult the particular lines to confirm or deny that. So right away, even though Witterson's been called, the Jerry Springer of the fucking occult world. We're a fucking gossip show. We're this, we're fucking that. We still did more fucking research about Sarah Ann Lawless than Sarah Ann Lawless and most of her friends did before spouting a bunch of shit. So we're going to play some music and hopefully have some other stuff when we come back.
Father, can you hear me? How have I let you down? I curse the day that I was born and all the sorrow in this world. you love me, never would you leave me. But the devil take that woman, for you know she treat me easy. But she ring, dum-a-do-dum-a-da. Wait for my daddy, oh. Wait for my daddy, oh. There's whiskey in the jar, oh. So maybe 7 in one Captain Farrell. I jumped up, fired up my pistols, and I shot him with both barrels. Mushering, dum-a-do-dum-a-da. Wait for my daddy, oh. Wait for my daddy, oh. There's whiskey in the jar. And some men like to fouling, and some men like to hear a cannonball rolling. But me, I like sleeping, especially in my mindless chamber. But here I am in prison, here I am with a ball and chain, yeah. Much a ring, dum-a-do-dum-a-da. Wait for my daddy, oh. Wait for my daddy, oh. There's whiskey in the jar, oh. And I got drunk on whiskey, oh. And I love, I love, I love, I love, I love, I love, I love.
A new age of reason, brain treason to trick the mind. What good is searching if nothing's there to find? We arrive at this place of no return, my brothers, only to discover that our minds have led us away so far from the paper truth of who we are. What's right is wrong, what's gone is gone, what's clear and pure is not so sure. All promises become a lie, all that's benign corrupts and died. All our come forth, bear witness. see the profit from your loss, beg for forgiveness only after you tally the cost. We arrive at this place of no return, my sisters, only to discover that our values ran us aground on the show in the sea of what we could be. What's right is wrong, what's come is gone, what's clear and pure is not so sure. All promises become a lie, all that's been right corrupts in time. All the if it's real for me, do I have to prove it to you? Why do revelations fade to cold blue untruths? It's all so relative, subservient in tone on one's perspective. Yeah. What's right is wrong, what's come is gone, what's clear and pure is not so sure. All promises become a lie, all that's been right corrupts in time. All the always failing me.
Widdershins Radio, Bad Religion, a couple Bad Religion songs. I think we heard. What was it Thin Lizzy?
But I think the one before
I think it was Thin Lizzy. Yeah. So I just want to say before we will go too further, I don't know. Just set it over there.
Talk about me.
Oh, watch out for that! You left a puddle. I don't know Sarah Ann Lawless. You know, and I don't have any beef against her. It's this particular, the fact that she formed this particular group, and the only thing that you could see from the outside of the group was that most people that were interested in the group just wanted to slander another member of the pagan community, and it's like, this is like the worst part about our fucking community. Our backbitey, fucking backstabby fucking ways that happen in our fucking community. I don't want any fucking group representing any of us that engages in that kind of shit. That's the worst part about us. We should be coming together because we have enemies out there bent on our demise, and the Christian church is seizing power in the United States and getting to declare all kinds of things as religious rights. But Marta, what?
I was just gonna say it's I hope I'm wrong, but I really see it backfiring. I see people who are, both on the group, or groups of people who are all in the group, just going back and forth about, somebody's going to say somebody did something, and somebody else is going to be like, well, I happen to know so-and-so personally, and I've never seen him do, that will happen. I'm telling you, that'll happen. Well, and I want to take this opportunity. I'm a licensed herbalist, and I really respect her knowledge of herbs. She makes ointments that, I know people who swear by them, and she uses poisonous, toxic herbs in her ointments, and I really respect that because I use a lot of poisonous toxins. I'm licensed to tell people to eat poison, certain poisons, because if you're skilled and you know what you're doing, it's not going to kill anybody. Obviously, it wouldn't be legal for me to, prescribe half the shit I've prescribed. But you have to be skilled and know what you're doing. And I respect that. I respect that people, rub these things all over their body that she makes, and obviously nobody's died because I don't think she'd publicly keep doing it. So I respect her for that, and I like her art. I don't have a problem with her. I just think it's just giving people an opportunity to jump all over the wrong people. That's my problem with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just this, victim support group that's just victimizing other people in our community. It's all I've seen of the people interested in that group. And then, the stuff that I've seen that apparently went on in that group. They called Christian a womanizer. It's like, you've got to consider your source. When your source is that fucking ignorant, they've lost the straight face test. Anything that they said after that is questionable at best. When they have no credibility with their opening line, the next lines out of their mouths have no credibility. So when you accuse a very gay guy who in the next breath they're going to be talking about his eye makeup and using it to bash his gayness.
Well, what does that that's even more random. It's not even about Christian anymore.
I don't know. I don't know how long these people been around, but I grew up as a witch in the 80s, and the official witch of Salem, who all these people know, was known for her fucking eye makeup. That was one of her redeeming factors. But she always had the dark eye makeup, wearing all black, walking around in cloaks and shit, which became the way in Salem and other places. It became standard for a lot of witches. She really pioneered some shit. I have to give her that kind of credit. But we're hoping that we don't want him to eat too fast. But but there was word from Christian Day. And maybe he's going to pop up. He might still pop up. I don't know. We might have to go a little overtime. Who knows what we'll have to do. But that reliable source also explained to me this other thing that was going on, and Christian had talked about in a post. But Miss Lawless apparently mounted an attack on Maxine Miller when she was going to be a presenter in last year's Hex Fest. And, when people attack people who are going to be presenters at Hex Fest, well, that's a trigger for me. I'm not going to go into that right now, but what this source is the same source that told me all the stuff about the fairy tradition, and was I would consider a reliable source. I've tested the source thricely, and that source has come through every time. And so I will read this thing. Apparently, Ms. Lawless took a bunch of old nude photos of Maxine Miller and posted them out of context in an article stating that the British traditional witch lineages were all about sex and bondage, women's subjugation, and this BS. Blaming the British traditional witches for any sexual predators in the greater pagan community. And that's alright. Look. Clearly they were kind of into some BDSM. Okay? We got the scourge, we got the garters, we got the kind of stuff. A little bit. But that's cool. Whatever that's maybe some of those. I mean, I wouldn't look at it now, but those early pictures of Janet Farrar in the Witch's Bible in black and white, and naked in her garter with her fucking blade and her wand. Yeah, that was hot. I was hot. Not so much anymore, but such is the nature of time. But yeah. So using those kind of things, out of context to prove a point. The British traditional witches are responsible for our sexual predators. Now, it's great that we have these attempts at these support networks out there. It's a nice idea. I don't think she went about it in the right way. But it is a smaller, even with the amount of sexual proclivity in our traditions, the whole predator thing is extremely small in the broader scope of paganism. If we compare it to any of our predecessors, we compare it to like the Catholic Church. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed every time it comes up. But big enough for a support group, I don't know. Because anytime one of these cases has come up in the pagan community, we all know about it. We're all up in arms about it. Everybody's trying to create rules about it. These things never go unnoticed or unpublished like they do in other religions. We're usually like all over that shit, and we're usually like just lopping off the head of the accused with, no evidence whatsoever. And this kind of the problem. It's like I understand the Me Too movement. And time's up, but the "we will believe you" thing, sometimes that might go too far. There are broken people out there. There are, just in our modern society, we see there are women that will make up a whole fucking rape allegation just because somebody left them. They got jilted. It fucking happens. We'll see it on fucking Steve Wilkos and Maury every fucking day. It fucking happens. We just can't believe everybody. It's not, the idea is nice, but really everybody needs to be questioned. Everybody needs to answer the questions. We can't just believe everybody that accuses anybody of abuse.
Well, that's actually a tough one for me because I do tend to believe rape victims, and it really breaks my heart when some of them do lie, because I do believe them, and I will believe, and I will continue believing them. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that people don't believe me about, and it frustrates the shit out of me. Like I know what it's like. I just think when you're online and you can just type whatever you want, like people don't have the same filter that they would if they had to, like call the police or make some accusation and go to court and whatever. It's just different. People feel a lot more free to do that. And I've seen it a lot in the pagan community, and sometimes it's absolutely true and sometimes it isn't. And I just think it's inviting, I think it's a great idea. I just think that people, there will always be somebody who takes advantage of something that's a really good idea. And that's kind of how I feel about rent control. Like, I think rent control, nothing to do with it, but I think rent control is a great idea. I fully support it. But there are people who are going to take advantage of it because people. And the same thing with this kind of stuff. And with rape allegations, I will continue believing people, but unfortunately, you get some that aren't telling the truth. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah. And the problem is, usually the ones not telling the truth are the minority, but they become the example of the majority. You taint the entire process when you have people doing that kind of thing, and it's like I don't know. I think women that do that kind of thing are like traitors to the entire gender, and there should somehow be a council to eject them.
Because I tend to believe them. That's just my nature. I get really, really upset when I find out that, somebody lied about it, and it just, it gives more fuel for people to deny it, because then they can bring up, oh, well, remember so-and-so who lied about it, and remember so-and-so who lied about it, and it just makes it a lot worse for the people who are telling the truth. Yeah. And it really bothers me, and I almost wish, like, they could, like, serve a prison sentence or something. I mean, there's really no definitive way, I guess, to prove that they were lying, unless they find, somebody else's DNA on them or something. But I don't know. I get really upset when people lie about that kind of stuff, or any kind of abuse.
Yeah, because it's those cases will always be used later as examples when we're trying to refute another case. It's like, well, here's one that fucking lied. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. How did we even get on this subject? I don't even. Oh, we were talking about
I'm talking about why we think this group is a bad idea.
Yeah, you're.
As far as support groups go, I actually belong to a couple of support groups, and I'm not even gonna tell you guys what they're about. But in those kind of support groups, nobody's named. Like, somebody will be like, well, my ex-boyfriend did this, or my mother did this, but nobody actually, like, knows who those people are. But with this type of group, I strongly suspect that people are naming names, and that's what sets it apart from your, run-of-the-mill support group, which I actually don't think that's a bad idea. But I have a feeling, I'm not in this group, but I have a feeling that people are actually naming names.
And what I could see from the outside of this group was people with the personal axe to grind against Christian Dale. And then a bunch of other people just repeating what they heard. But, when people have a personal axe to grind, you'd be amazed how far they'll go. They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorns. Like, I reference fucking Maury and Steve. It's like, some of the crap we watch when we're not doing witchcraft. It's like, I've seen that. I saw a woman that told a man that his child was dead. For 3 years, he believed his child was dead because she was mad at him for leaving her. Okay? People like that taint the entire fucking process of being able to believe people. There are some psycho motherfuckers out there that will fucking blame Christian for anything under the fucking sun, will blame anybody else for anything under the fucking sun. You just can't, I'm sorry, you can't just believe people. It needs to at least make sense. You can't, sexual abuse, this kind of thing. We can't always hold out for evidence. But the story should make sense. It should be plausible. At the very least. I don't know what kind of standards we have to have, but not just for this, but anything. You can't just believe everybody right away, even to be supportive. They need to be making sense. There are people that will abuse your well-meaning process, all of our well-meaning processes, to fucking get at somebody that they're fucking pissed at. And we will all be the mechanism for fucking doing that. So I don't know if Christian will actually make it in today. I haven't heard anything from a while. He was trying to chug some food, get in here, but I told him we'd go over if we had to. It's usually entertaining when he comes in, so whatever gets fucking ratings. But I know Tuesdays is a hard time. We didn't know this thing was going on.
Let's talk about the fact that our dear beloved president is like 15 minutes away right now.
Yeah, I haven't really looked out over the horizon to see. I haven't seen a whole lot of military aircraft, but I expect them.
Last time he was here, we saw a bunch of, really scary looking helicopters flying in formation, pretty close to us, and it was pretty loud. And I was expecting that today. We haven't seen anything. I mean, he's not, exactly right where we are, but he's Beverly Hills is like, what, 20 minutes away? And downtown, we can see downtown from here. Apparently that's where he's staying, somewhere downtown. I haven't seen shit or heard anything. And I think he's here now. Like, he arrived, he was in the Bay Area this morning. I don't know exactly what part. I know he talked about the homeless problem in San Francisco. He didn't actually address what the actual problem was. But then he has some fundraiser, like I said, 20 minutes away from where we are. I don't remember what time that starts, and if, maybe we're going to see a bunch of action later. Like, we're right, like, overlooking the freeway, and we see a lot of stuff. Like, we see a lot of the cop chases that we see on TV, on the news, and we'll be like, oh, they're coming up, and we run in the window, and we actually see the chase. So we see everything here. But I don't know. I really haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything. I'm not sure why that's even happening, but I know he's here.
I'm sure if I looked over the edge, I would see that the traffic is more fucked up than usual because they closed up several streets. Is it still the same? Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, I expected traffic to be fucked up. But, he decided to come here during rush hour in L.A., closed down, several main streets to get to his secret location. But I haven't seen a whole lot. I've been looking at the sky here, but I haven't looked out at the horizon or over towards Beverly Hills. There's probably like copters.
The loudest thing I heard was when that random truck's tire blew on the freeway. That was the loudest thing I heard.
I don't know, but I gotta tell you about this other thing. So, the Mile High Conjure Gala is coming.
You were gonna go there.
Of course, it's about that time.
Yeah.
It's time for plugs and stuff. I haven't checked Witterson's email in about a week, but wittershensradio@gmail.com. If you have events that you want us to plug, it occurs to me I forgot to check it before the show, but we'll do that kind of thing. We'll plug your event. The Mile High Conjure Gala, though, it's like right around the corner, man. It's November 9th to the 11th in Denver, Colorado. The Mile...
They have mountain time.
Yeah.
What's
I was trying to figure out mountain time. I think that's where mountain time is. Yeah. All right, so I won't read the times, but the Mile High Conjure Gala is a one-of-a-kind event in Denver, Colorado, that brings together esteemed teachers and elders for a weekend opening the world of conjure to you. And this year's presenters, epic right away, man. Candelo Cambisa, Professor Charles Porterfield, Brother Moses, Michelle Jackson. Already, we're way beyond the price of admission, man. Beverly Smith, Ifa Ibeu, Yaya Joycey, and Hoodoo Sen Moise. That is going to be quite a thing at the Mile High Conjure Gala. Get over to conjuregala.com. Get your tickets, get more details, whatever they got. I think they got like vendors. They don't list all that stuff here, but I think they have vendors and readers and all of that stuff. But conjuregala.com and get your tickets for that one. Tell them Wittershin sent you. You won't get a discount or anything, but we'll get a brownie point, so whatever. Wittershins. We'll be back.
grapefruits, big as pumpkins, yes sir, yes sir. And on my really good days, they swell to the size of small dogs. My balls are as big as small dogs, but it ain't bragging if it's true, yes sir, yes sir. It ain't bragging if it's true. Muhammad Ali said that back when he was a young man, back when he was Cassius Clay, before he fought too many fights and left his brain inside the ring. And sometimes I wish I was Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods. Sometimes I wish I was Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods. I got a friend whose goal in life was to one day go down on Madonna. That's all he wanted, that was all, to one day go down on Madonna. And when my friend was 34, he got his wish in Rome one night. He got to go down on Madonna in Rome one night in some hotel. And ever since he's been depressed, cause life is shit from here on in. And all our friends just shake their heads and say too soon, too soon, too soon. He went down on Madonna too soon, too young, too soon, too soon. And it ain't bragging if it's true, yes sir, yes sir. It ain't bragging if it's true. Muhammad Ali said that back when he was Cassius Clay, before he fought too many fights and left his brain inside the ring. And sometimes I wish I was Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods. Sometimes I wish I was Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods. If certain girls don't look at you, it means that they like you a lot. If other girls don't look at you, it just means they're ignoring you. How can you know, how can you know which is which, who's doing what? I guess that you can ask them, which one are ya, baby? Do you like me or are you ignoring me? Do you like me or are you ignoring me? Do you like me or are you ignoring me? And all you need to do that is one good pair of big balls. Balls as big as grapefruits, balls as big as pumpkins, balls as big as mine. But even though my balls are big, sometimes I wish they were bigger, even bigger. Big as the wheels on tractors, big as the golden arches, big as the Golden Gate Bridge, big as the state of Kansas, big as Mars and Jupiter, big as a swing of Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods. Discontent, fan flames, fans of flames of discontent. When I think about the future coming closer every day, I think a revolution, it seems the only way. But I wonder if we've got it, what it takes to be free, to form one mighty fist and put it through the TV. Wake from our oppression before we're put to sleep. The fighting weed of apathy sinks its roots too deep. The flames of discontent, fan the flames, fan the flames of discontent. Call into action against an economic greed that induces and produces these discontents. Fan the flames, fan the flames of discontent.
I must say to honourable members, I adjourn the sitting, grave disorder having broken out.
Did you notice that just recently in London town the blacks all wave? But people smiled like the world was bright. But now it seems that nothing changed. My ears are ringing with the promise that the right will wrongs, and that they're ever gonna give you democracy. Democracy. We've been down this path a million times, and yet there seems no hope for us. These times are hard and yet the few do well. The rest can't wallow in the dust. In the dust. And if you're looking for the answers, you won't need crystal ball. They're not taking any chances on democracy. Democracy. Don't tell me revolution changed the thing in France that for a king or two. 'Cause when it's Bastille Day and toxic time bomb ticks in the Pacific Blue. Revolution changes nothing, and voting changes even less. 'Cause it's all the time you are wasting on democracy. Democracy. That's not right here. Democracy. Democracy. Democracy.
Damned on With Shins Radio. So I was just while we were on the musical break, I got a Facebook notification based on a post that I posted about this very thing, and this person was talking about how they weren't operating off of rumor. It was personal knowledge about Christian and his husband, and vicious attackers they are. And he mentioned a couple situations that I knew firsthand were not Christian attacking anybody. And here's always the problem with people that want to come up in Uncle Birch's face. Okay? I'm old, bitches. I got a long memory. And when the memory is associated with magic or anything involving magic, I have an ironclad fucking memory that you cannot compete with. And I don't know how old Sarah is, but I was listening to Hex Education way back when. And I remember everything that I ever heard. I listened to every fucking episode way before I ever met Christian. And Christian says he's on his way home now. I don't know. All right. Well, if he calls, we'll go over. I'll run downstairs and figure out what I have to figure out because, you know, we'll get more clicks that way. But we'll see. We'll see if he makes it before the end of the show. Oh dear. Let's see. Where was I? But so I remember way back in hoping cleaning people didn't vanish my headset. Oh God. Way back when I used to listen to Hex Education, it's like that's one of the things that drew me in. It's like Christian was in Salem then. There's more witches in that area than most other areas. Second only to New Orleans, or New Orleans is probably second. But so as such, he was always involved in witch wars. There was always something going on every fucking week, and that's one of the reasons I tuned in. I was in a smaller town with a whole lot of fucking witches, and I was having to deal with witch wars. I was a very public witch, and you know, the first shop owner, you know, around, or actually, you know, there was one before me, but I crushed her, and then the only shop owner around until somebody else came into town, and so I dealt with witch wars that came up, and there was nobody else to look to as a reference to, you know, get some advice for that. But Christian Day, he was involved in a new one every week, and by the next week, they were finished. And that's why I say the same thing I always say. I appreciate the finality and finesse with which Christian Day ends a conflict. That is the art of war. He finishes it. It's over. You know, people are going to bitch about it later, like this kind of thing on fucking YouTube, but the war's been over for a long fucking time. I've never seen him... He's apparently in an Uber or something, like right now, trying to get home. Oh dear. Let's see, where was I? And that was kind of the first attraction to his show. Was I was able to learn how to deal with witch wars. Like, I was dealing with that, but he was dealing with that on a much larger scale and got better at that. I was, I every couple months I had a new one. Every week he had a new one. So if I could just, stay abreast of what he was going through, I thought it would help me get through what I was going through, and it did. But I always noticed that he never started it. He always finished it. That was the thing. And he finished it in a very finalistic way, where the battle was clearly over. The other side had clearly been crushed. And while they will bitch about it later on the internet for many years, in the battle, the man came out victorious. And I've known this forever. It's like the attacker who then gets over-attacked whines and complains about it. And when you start it, you don't get to complain about how it's finished. In my world, and I hope the rest of the world, Japan. Well, they started it, that first move on Pearl Harbor was, an audacious move, but a terrible first move in a conflict. It laid them wide open to what was ultimately done to them. While people may, whine about, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it's like, well, they started it. They attacked us outright while having peace negotiations. They were planning their attack. Their troops were on the way while their ambassador was negotiating peace. And then as soon as the ambassador walked out of the meeting, Pearl Harbor happened. So it's like, yeah, a couple atomic bombs got dropped. It was horrific. Terrible. Never want to see that happen. Not going to whine about it, though. The attacker, even in that case, does not get to play victim. Yeah. The person that attacks does not get to whine about the response of those they attacked. If you punch me in the nose, I will cut off your nose, at the very least. And you don't get to bitch about it. You started it, okay? Maybe that's just me. I know it's Marta too, but yeah. If you started this thing, well, I might finish this thing, and you probably won't like how I finished it, and your not liking it is irrelevant. You shouldn't like it because you started it. It should be very traumatic to you. It should be very problematic to you, but you started it, and you just don't get to whine about it. Yeah, I don't know, man. 6:40. If Christian does call, we'll barely have any time left in our broadcast.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay, I would just do the show like we normally do the
Yeah.
show and finish when we finish. That's it. Okay, don't hold everything
Yeah.
up from
No. I'm typing to him right now, so this is not really dead air. How about we figure out next week? Let's see if that was all right. Probably do that because it's 6:41. Gonna have parent stuff to do soon. Let's see. I'm looking in the chat room. Hello, Pepperjack. Let's see what else we have. All right. A lot of stuff going on in the chat room. If you're not in the chat room, well, maybe it's because you forgot to set up an account. You didn't follow. You gotta follow. We at Witterson's have a larger package than we have delivered to you thus far. We can go 3 hours per day, unlimited times per day, meaning we could go all day if we want, as long as we reboot every 3 hours. So far, we haven't had the free time or the inclination to do that, but we could. We have the ability to do that. We could do that. If something happened, it's like, if Trump's plane had been coming in and crashed on the horizon or something like that, it's like we'd go longer. It didn't happen. We didn't. I don't even think we. Yeah, I don't even think we saw his plane. I don't know. I was kind of looking for it, but I don't know. I didn't see it.
Dude, I worked on 9/11 when I was at a newspaper. It was supposed to be my day off after working 2 weeks straight because the fools went on vacation, and we all worked every day when people went on vacation. So I know what it's like. And I probably didn't even I could have just not answered my phone. It was my one day off. I picked up the phone, I called the newsroom, and I said, okay, what time should I come in? And I did it. So I don't want you to question my commitment. My level of commitment
I will not do that.
Vast. So I will
Vast.
stay here. If something happens to the president, I will stay here all night and broadcast.
Yeah. We got a couple minutes. If something happened, we'd be here. Or, we'd maybe go back on the air. But that's kind of the thing. So if we went back on the air because something happened and you weren't following us, you would not know.
You know, that gives me an idea.
Yeah.
Which I should have had this whole time. If anything happens that's kind of a big deal, you know, I don't want anything bad to happen, but if something major and bad happens, let's just say right here and now that we will go on the air.
We will.
And talk about it, report on it and stuff.
I can't remember what it was, but we did that. There was something going on. Some news. We went on the air.
It was just we happened to be on when the debates were going on, and we talked about that. But I don't remember ever going on outside of the normal outside of the normal date and time when something happened.
I'm gonna have to look through the archives because there was one time I thought we did that.
I don't remember that at all, and I have the better memory.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Get your nose out of there, dog. Winter shit. Yeah. I don't think Christian's gonna make it tonight, but yeah, we're gonna move on. But you gotta follow us, whether you're listening to us on iHeartRadio or SoundCloud or Tumblr or wherever the fuck else we are that I've never been to, but I set up the account to go to. We're broadcasting all over the place, and somewhere in there's a follow or a subscribe. Even on YouTube, there's a subscribe, but I think our YouTube broadcast happens after the fact. I don't think it goes through live. I'm not sure. Maybe it does.
Now that the link that's on our Facebook page is the correct link, but it's not working for some reason.
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me about it, and so I tried it. I went on our Widdershins Radio Facebook page. I clicked on the link, and they said, "Oops, we can't find that." You know, it didn't say "page not found," but it was some "oops, invalid URL. Please check the URL and type it in again." And we triple checked it. And as some of y'all know, I'm a copy editor. I would have seen that. If there's an extra space, I see it. If there's an extra colon, I see it. If there's an extra slash, I see it. There's nothing wrong with it. And then I typed it in on my own just from memory because I had been looking at it for so long. And then I clicked on it and it worked. So it's just that one area on the page. When you look at the front of the page and it's got the URL, for some reason that's not working. So it is HTTPS. I'm telling you from memory. HTTPS : 2// Spreaker.com / user / Widdershins. So that'll work. But I think the people who hear this probably already are on there, so it's not really help. It's that there's really no purpose to this. I just wanted to, hear myself talk or something.
That's right. That's it towards you. We found out that somehow the link on our Facebook page doesn't go here, but it's the right link, and we worked this out. We in LA traffic, at every stoplight, I had about 3 minutes to sit there, and I was fucking around with it. Marta was fucking around with it. It's the right address. I don't know what the damn problem is, but if you go to our Facebook Widdershins page, the link there doesn't lead here. I don't know how that is. So we're gonna try and link up with Christian later. Maybe get him on next week. Sometimes Wednesdays works out better for him. We have a good guest like that. We'll go ahead and figure that out. But we'll have to see that next week on Widdershins. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find us you can contact us at widdershinsradio@gmail.com. You can find us at Facebook at Widdershins Radio. We don't have a Twitter yet, huh? No, we're probably going to have to do that shit, too.
Should we have an
God.
Instagram, too?
Yeah, I guess we're going to have an Instagram, too. God damn. Everyone has failed Christian today, so yeah, he's not going to be here.
We should do a Widdershins blog, and I can just, like, talk about that week's news and all the fuckery and stuff. But it might compete with the show.
Isn't there a blog method off of our Facebook page? Isn't there a blog link?
No.
Oh. All right. Maybe we'll do that too.
I'm just wondering, like, some of the stuff that we... Because sometimes I'll think of a bunch of stuff, and by the time Tuesday rolls around, I forgot half of it. So it might not be a bad idea to have it.
Yeah. You and me both.
3 or 4 days
Yeah.
out from Tuesday.
Yeah. Marta needs more stuff to type and to write. She needs to write all the damn time. So, yeah. Write some Widdershins
It's the
stuff.
only thing that gives me any joy.
Okay, so we want you to have more
Hanging
joy.
out with you and Sasha and Azzy.
Okay. So we need you to have more joy. Our listeners need more joy.
Barren life.
Yeah. Widdershins. We'll see you next week. We're gonna rock out at this point, really. Yeah. You know it.
Flickering the shadows fall across my eyes, across the walls. Time engulfs me once more. I'm in the place and I'm enthralled. The mist that creeps, the hound that howls, the lightning illuminates the towers. Is it only I can see the beauty of the beast? Your magic never ceased. With quickening pulse, what lies behind the door? A curious step retreats once more. The creature with a darkened soul, a story of the damned unfolds. Bella, Boris, Basilon, Laurie, Vincent, now all gone. Looming pallid on the screen, the beauty of the beast. Your magic never ceased. And now, though a curtain has been drawn, you go on forever as before.
early springtime and the strike was on. You drove us miners out of our doors, out of the houses that the company owned, into the tents up in Little Ludlow. We were worried bad about our children. State troopers guarded the railway bridge. Every once in a while a bullet would fly and kick up gravel around our feet. We were so afraid that you'd kill our children that we dug a cave that was 7 foot deep, took the children and the pregnant woman down inside the cave to sleep. It was late that night, the soldiers waited till all us miners who were asleep crept around our little camp town and soaked our tents in kerosene. Well, they struck a match and the blaze had started. They pulled the triggers on their Gatling guns, made a run for the children, but the firewall stopped me, and 13 children died from their guns. Drug my blanket to the wire fence corner and to watch the flames till the blaze died down. Saw some folks drag their belongings while your bullets killed them all around. Well, they rang the governor for to phone up the president, tell him call off the National Guard. But the National Guard belonged to the governor. Oh, I guess he didn't try very hard. I never will forget the looks on the faces of the men and women that awful day as they stood around to preach the funeral and lay the corpses of the dead away. Well, the women from Trinidad drug some potatoes up to Wallensburg in a little cart. They sold the potatoes and they brought some guns back and put a gun in every hand. It was late that night, the troopers charged us. They didn't know that we had guns, and the red-necked miners, they shot the soldiers. You should have seen them bastards run. We took some cement and walled the cave up where the 13 little children died. I thank God for the Mine Workers Union, and then I hung my head and cried.
Of all the money that e'er I had, I've spent it in good company. And of all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, was done to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memories now I cannot recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away. and of all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise while you should not, I will gently rise, and I'll softly call, good night and joy be with you all. Oh, if I had money enough to spend, and leisure time to sit a while, there is a fair maid in this town that surely has my heart beguiled. Her rosy cheeks and ruby lips, she alone has my heart in thrall. So fill to me the parting glass, good night and joy be with you all. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise while you should not, I will gently rise, and I'll softly call, good night and joy be with